cheese. On a cold Tuesday morning in New York, Daniel quietly slipped into the small coffee shop on the corner of 7th Avenue. Cheese. He wasn't there for coffee. Not really. He came every morning for the same reason, to sit at the table near the back. Cheese laptop open and work on his start-up idea while the world rushed by outside. Daniel was the type of person who didn't talk much about his plans. While his friends bragged on social media about their hustle, Daniel stayed silent. He believed that when you talk too much, you spend energy that could be used to actually do. One day, as he typed away, he noticed a woman struggling to pay for her coffee. Her clothes were worn, her hands trembling. She fumbled through her bags, cheeks turning red as the barista told her the price again. People in line began to sigh impatiently. Without thinking twice, Daniel slipped a few bills across the counter. The woman looked at him in surprise. "You didn't have to. It's okay," Daniel said softly. "Enjoy your coffee." He didn't give his name. He didn't post about it online. He just went back to his table, sipping his own drink and continuing his work. Weeks passed. She and Daniel kept showing up at that cafe each day. His business idea, a small app to connect local artisans with buyers, grew stronger. He never boasted about his progress, even when he secured his first investor. One morning, as he was packing up his things, the cafe owner approached him. "Someone left this for you," she said, handing over an envelope. Inside was a handwritten note. "You don't know me, but weeks ago, you paid for my coffee when I couldn't. I was having one of the worst days of my life." That small act reminded me that kindness still exists. "I'm an angel investor, and I've been looking for someone to believe in. Someone who works quietly, not for attention, but for purpose. Call me." Daniel was stunned. He dialed the number that evening, and within a month, his business had the funding it needed to launch. The app took off quickly. Not because Daniel was the loudest in the room, but because his work and his integrity spoke louder than any speech could. The day his company reached its first million users, Daniel thought back to that morning in the cafe. A simple act of kindness had started a chain reaction. And that's the thing about life sometimes. The seeds you plant in silence grow into forests you never expected. Quiet doesn't mean invisible. Success doesn't need noise. And kindness, it's the one investment that always returns more than you give. The morning rush in New York had its own kind of music. The honk of impatient drivers, the chatter of hurried conversations, the rhythmic clicking of heels on pavement. Daniel moved quietly through it all. No headphones, no phone in hand, just his worn leather bag over his shoulder and a focused look in his eyes. While others were busy broadcasting their lives online, Daniel believed in something different: work in silence. Let results make the noise. Every morning, he stopped at the same coffee shop on the corner of 7th Avenue. It wasn't just the coffee, though the owner made the best dark roast in the neighborhood. It was the atmosphere. A place where he could tuck himself into the back table, open his laptop, and chip away at his dream. Building an app that could help local artisans sell their handmade work to a global audience. He had no investors, no marketing budget, just a stubborn belief and a determination to keep moving forward. One cold Tuesday, While the shop was unusually crowded, Daniel noticed something at the counter. A woman in a faded winter coat was fumbling through her purse, pulling out coins and small bills. The barista, trying to be polite, cheese, told her the total again. She didn't have enough. People in line started shuffling their feet, some rolling their eyes. Daniel walked up to the counter, and without saying much, placed a few bills down. "Her coffee's on me," he said quietly. The woman's eyes widened. "Cheese, yo, you don't have to do that." "It's all right," Daniel replied with a warm smile. "Enjoy it." She thanked him softly, still surprised, and sat down at a table near the window. Cheese. Daniel didn't introduce himself, didn't ask for her story, didn't post about it later to collect likes. It wasn't a performance. It was just something he felt was right. Days turned into weeks. Daniel kept coming to the cafe, working long hours in silence. His app slowly took shape. His friends still didn't know exactly what he was doing. They thought he was just trying something. Daniel didn't feel the need to explain. One morning, the cafe owner approached him with an envelope. "This was left here for you," she said, placing it on his table. Daniel opened it. Inside was a neatly folded piece of paper with handwriting that felt personal, deliberate. "You don't know me, but weeks ago, you paid for my coffee when I couldn't. That day, I was at my lowest, recently laid off, struggling to believe in myself. Your small act reminded me that kindness still exists, and it shifted something in me. I'm an angel investor. I've been searching for someone with not just ideas, but integrity. Someone who works quietly, for purpose, not for applause. If you're building something I'd like to help, call me." Daniel stared at the note for a long moment, speechless. He thought back to that morning. The woman in the faded coat, a gesture so small he'd almost forgotten. Now it had come back to him, multiplied in ways he never imagined. That evening, he dialed the number. The woman answered, her voice warm and steady. They talked for hours, not just about funding, but about vision, values, and the kind of impact his app could have. Within a month, Daniel's project had the investment it needed to launch. The growth was steady at first, then unstoppable. Artisans from small towns began selling their work to customers in other countries. Single mothers earned extra incomes. Retired craftsmen found new life for their skills. Daniel's company reached its first 1 million users quietly. No dramatic announcement, no grand party. But for him, the real celebration was seeing the faces of the people his work had helped. One afternoon, sitting in that same cafe, Daniel spotted the woman again. This time, she wasn't in a faded coat. She looked confident, smiling as she greeted the barista. Their eyes met, and she gave him a small nod, a silent acknowledgement that some things are better left unsaid. Daniel smiled to himself. He had learned something powerful. Quiet doesn't mean invisible. Success doesn't need noise, and kindness, no matter how small, has a way of echoing back, often when you least expect it. The world tells you to shout about your progress, to prove your worth in real time. But sometimes, the strongest message you can send is to simply do the work, keep your head down, and let your actions tell the story. Because in the end, the people who truly matter won't be impressed by the noise. They'll be moved by the results and by the heart behind them. The city was alive before the sun was even fully awake. New York mornings had their own soundtrack: the hum of buses, the impatient honks of yellow cabs, snippets of phone conversations blending into the cold winter air. Daniel moved quietly through the crowd. He wasn't in a rush. Yet he walked with purpose. While others scrolled through their phones or posted their rise and grind selfies, Daniel's phone stayed in his pocket. He wasn't interested in telling the world what he was doing. He was interested in doing it. For months now, his mornings began at the same small coffee shop on 7th Avenue. It was nothing fancy. Just a warm place with the smell of fresh beans and the quiet buzz of people starting their day. Daniel always sat at the same corner table, the one under the flickering light near the back. There, he worked on his start-up idea, an app that could connect local artisans with buyers around the world. He'd met too many talented craftsmen struggling to make ends meet simply because they had no online presence. His idea wasn't about making him rich. It was about giving others a fighting chance. He had no funding, no team, just his laptop, his savings, and a stubborn belief that he could make it happen. One particularly cold Tuesday, Daniel noticed something unusual. The shop was packed, every table full. At the counter, a woman in a faded gray coat was digging through her bag, pulling out coins and crumpled bills. Her hands shook slightly, her eyes darting between the menu and the cash she held. The barista gave her a kind smile, but repeated the total. It was clear she didn't have enough. Daniel didn't think twice. He walked up, and placed a few bills on the counter. "Her coffee's on me," he said softly. The woman blinked in surprise. I'll pay you back." "No need," Daniel replied with a smile. Enjoy it." He walked back to his table without another word. He didn't want her to feel like she owed him something. He didn't want recognition. He just wanted her morning to be a little easier. The woman sat near the window, sipping her coffee slowly, almost protectively, as if it were more than just a drink, as if it was a moment of relief she truly needed. Days turned into weeks. Daniel kept coming to the cafe, quietly building his dream. His friends still had no idea what he was working on. They'd ask, "So, what's this secret project you're doing?" And he'd just smile. He believed something deeply. If you're really working, you don't have time to talk about it every day. Then, one morning, the cafe owner approached him with an envelope. "Someone left this for you," she said. Daniel opened it. Inside was a neatly folded note in elegant handwriting. "You don't know me, but a few weeks ago, you paid for my coffee when I couldn't. That day, I was at my lowest. Recently laid off, bills piling up, wondering if I even mattered. Your small act reminded me that kindness still exists. I'm an angel investor. I've been searching for someone with not just an idea, but integrity. Someone who works for purpose, not applause. If you're building something I'd like to help, call me." Daniel read the note twice, 3 times. He remembered her face now, tired eyes, soft voice, a faded gray coat. That evening, with his heart pounding, he called the number. The woman answered. Her name was Claire. They talked for over an hour, not just about money, but about values. about how businesses should be built to help, not just to sell, about why he was doing this in the first place. Within a month, Daniel had his first round of funding. Claire became his mentor and investor. His app launched 6 months later. At first, the growth was slow, but then it started to spread. A weaver in India sold her scarves to customers in London. A woodworker in Canada shipped custom furniture to homes in California. A retired jewelry maker in Italy found himself busier than he'd been in years. Daniel never bragged. He didn't flood social media with "look at me" posts. He let the work speak. A year later, the app crossed 1 million users. Daniel returned to that same cafe, ordered the same coffee, and sat at the same table. As he looked around, he spotted a familiar figure at the counter. Claire. This time, she wasn't in a faded coat. She was laughing with the barista. Her eyes bright. She noticed him, and for a moment, they just exchanged a quiet nod. No words, no speeches. Just an understanding. Two people who knew the power of a single quiet action. Daniel realized something that day. Success doesn't need to shout, and kindness is never wasted. It's like planting a seed without expecting to see it grow. Yet one day, you find yourself standing in the shade of a tree you didn't even know had sprouted. The world will tell you to make noise, to prove your worth, to show your progress. But sometimes the most powerful way to speak is to say nothing at all. Do the work. Be consistent. Help when you can. And trust that the right people will notice. Not because you demanded attention, but because you earned it. Because in the end, the loudest thing you can ever say is spoken in the silence of your actions.